Joe Rogan, the man who never shies away from controversy, has just dropped the most explosive claim of his career. On his latest podcast episode, Rogan looked straight into the camera and said words that sent shockwaves through every corner of social media. Something about this story doesn't add up. And I think Charlie Kirk's widow knows more than she's saying. That one sentence, one moment, was all it took to ignite a digital wildfire. Within minutes, hashtags like #KirkConspiracy and #RoganLeak were trending worldwide. Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube turned into chaos zones. Everyone's asking the same terrifying question. Did Joe Rogan just accuse Charlie Kirk's own wife of being involved in his death? Because here's the thing, Joe didn't just hint. He insisted something deeper is being hidden from the public. And when Joe Rogan says he doesn't believe the official story, millions listen. Charlie Kirk, the outspoken conservative powerhouse, was shot during a student Q&A in Utah, a tragedy that stunned the nation. But now, days later, Rogan's allegations have ripped open old wounds and sparked brand new ones. He claims there are holes in the narrative, missing evidence, and a list of unnamed insiders who are terrified to talk. Even worse, anonymous sources now say there's footage, unreleased and allegedly suppressed, that could change everything. The question is no longer who pulled the trigger. It's who wanted this to happen. And if Joe Rogan's right, that answer might be closer to home than anyone ever imagined. Brace yourself, because what's coming next will shatter everything you thought you knew about Charlie Kirk, his wife, and the dark machine operating behind them. This story didn't start on the night of the shooting. It started long before that, before the flashing lights, before the breaking news banners, before the world watched a conservative icon collapse on stage. Something was already boiling beneath the surface. Charlie Kirk wasn't just a political commentator. He was the face of a movement, a symbol of the new American right. Turning Point USA wasn't merely an organization. It was an empire built on loyalty, money, and ideological power. But behind every empire lies shadow, betrayal, and ambition. And now, in hindsight, it's becoming terrifyingly clear the fall of Charlie Kirk might have been scripted long before the first bullet was fired. The rising tensions according to multiple unnamed insiders. Things inside Turning Point USA had been tense for months. Leaked internal memos, the kind the public was never supposed to see, allegedly showed disagreements over finances, strategy, and leadership. Kirk's closest advisors were reportedly divided. Some believed Charlie was losing control, becoming paranoid, suspicious of everyone around him. Others claimed he'd found something huge, and was preparing to expose it. A mysterious audit, ordered just a week before his death, became the focal point of speculation. Sources say Kirk was investigating missing donor funds, unauthorized overseas transfers, and a series of classified initiatives buried deep within the organization's digital infrastructure. One whistleblower even told a conservative news blog that Kirk had discovered a rogue operations division inside his own company, a small, secretive group allegedly funneling money into off-record projects. What kind of projects? No one could say for sure. But whatever Kirk had found, he was scared. Publicly, Charlie appeared confident, fiery, and untouchable. But privately, people close to him say he started canceling meetings, double-checking his travel routes, and asking for additional security. Something was haunting him. A marriage under strained in. There's his wife. The woman now at the center of this storm. Elegant, composed, always poised beside him at galas and speaking events. The perfect political partner. But behind closed doors, whispers say things were far from perfect. Friends describe their relationship as fractured, even cold. One former staff member reportedly claimed that Charlie and his wife had separate offices, separate schedules, and barely spoke unless cameras were around. And when Charlie began the audit, she allegedly opposed it, warning him not to stir up unnecessary enemies. Why? Because the audit threatened the very people who kept Turning Point alive: billionaires, lobbyists, and donors with influence stretching far beyond politics, according to one leaked text exchange shared by a social media whistleblower. Kirk's wife allegedly texted a close confidant saying, "He's digging where he shouldn't. I told him to stop before someone makes him stop." No one can verify that message. But that hasn't stopped the internet from running wild with it. The calm before the chaos the week leading up to the Utah event was eerily quiet. Charlie canceled a podcast taping, skipped a fundraiser, and reportedly spent hours locked in his office. Some say he looked pale, restless. Others insist he was energized, like a man ready to burn everything down to tell the truth. Then, on September 10, 2025, he appeared on stage at Utah Valley University. It was supposed to be another routine Q&A with students, but instead, it became the night that changed everything. Eyewitnesses say the event started smoothly. Charlie joked, laughed, and debated like always. But around the 20-minute mark, something changed. His eyes darted toward the back of the hall, a flicker of recognition or maybe fear. Moments later, chaos. A single gunshot, screams, panic, and then silence by the time emergency responders arrived. It was too late. Charlie Kirk, 31 years old, was gone. The official story, the official police report, painted a simple, tidy picture. A 22-year-old named Tyler Robinson, allegedly acting alone, fired the fatal shot using a restored World War I Nero rifle. They said he confessed. They said it was a politically motivated act, but Joe Rogan wasn't buying it. Within hours, his podcast was trending worldwide after he said, "A kid with a 100-year-old rifle. Perfect shot. Perfect timing." None of this makes sense. And he wasn't the only one asking questions. The rifle didn't match the wounds. The footage didn't match the timestamps. Even the supposed confession sounded off, like someone reading a script. Then came the decoy suspect. An older man at the scene had reportedly screamed, "I did it," before stripping off his pants and being detained. That man, identified only as a repeat witness in multiple national incidents, was later arrested on child-related charges just days later, silencing him completely. Rogan called that too convenient to ignore. And suddenly, what seemed like a closed case turned into a national obsession. Enter Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's name carries weight. He's not just a podcaster, he's a cultural force. So when he questioned the narrative, millions followed. He didn't accuse anyone directly. Not yet, but his words hit like a bomb. Something's off here. The gun, the suspect, the witnesses, it's like someone's rewriting the story in real time. And then he said it. The line that broke the internet, Charlie's wife. "There's something about her I don't trust." That one comment sparked over 40 million views in 24 hours. Twitter threads exploded. TikTok theories surfaced hourly. And YouTube detectives began dissecting every frame of footage from the Utah shooting. The internet erupts soon. Rumors surfaced that Charlie's widow had been quietly promoted to acting CEO of Turning Point USA just 3 days after his funeral. Screenshots of alleged internal emails surfaced online, showing her name at the top of the organizational hierarchy. Critics called it a move of loyalty. Conspiracy theorists called it a coup. One viral post read, "She didn't just inherit his role. She inherited his empire and maybe his secrets." The timing was too perfect, the silence too heavy. No public breakdown, no visible grief, just an icy calm that some called strength, and others called guilt. Then came whispers of an unsigned memo dated September 2nd, 8 days before the shooting, allegedly naming new leadership roles and hinting at an upcoming investigation. a memo she was rumored to have opposed. Was it foresight or foresight of something darker? The stage is set by the end of that week. The story had morphed from tragedy to thriller. Joe Rogan was demanding answers on air. Candace Owens was promising receipts. Turning Point USA had gone silent and in the void of truth. The internet filled the space with chaos, theories of political revenge, financial betrayal, and internal corruption. People no longer believed this was random. They believed it was orchestrated, but by who? And for what purpose? As the smoke of the tragedy settled, new patterns began to emerge. Leaked files, deleted articles, and inconsistencies in the timeline, and all of them pointed to one chilling possibility. Charlie Kirk's death wasn't an act of hate. It was an act of power, and if that's true, then the people pulling the strings are still out there, waiting, watching, and maybe still cleaning up the mess. Everything should have ended with the arrest of Tyler Robinson. But instead, that's where the nightmare really began. The cracks in the official story, the police press conference, lasted 7 minutes. 7 minutes that changed everything. The chief stepped up, calm, rehearsed, and read from his notes like a man following a script. He said the case was resolved. He said Robinson acted alone. He said the weapon was antique but operational. But when reporters shouted questions, how did a student sneak a rifle through security? Where's the campus footage? Why is the ballistic report sealed? The chief just smiled and walked away. The chief just smiled and walked away. Within hours, Rogan's podcast dropped. The episode title was a single word: lies. Joe leaned into the mic, his voice low and deliberate. I don't think this kid even pulled the trigger. Something's wrong here, and the people running this investigation know it. He wasn't guessing. He claimed someone inside law enforcement had reached a 10 unnamed officer who'd seen the evidence firsthand. That whistleblower allegedly said the gun's firing mechanism didn't match the bullet casings recovered at the scene. You're telling me a WWI rifle left 21st century brass on the floor? Rogan scoffed. That's not incompetence. That's cover-up. Screenshots of the supposed DM exchange flooded X-Twitter within minutes. The messages looked real enough: blurry avatars, timestamps, technical jargon no civilian would invent. Suddenly, the entire narrative flipped. If the weapon didn't match the shell casings, then the shooter might not match either. The leaked audio 2 days later. An anonymous Dropbox link began circulating on Telegram channels labeled Operation Echo. Inside, a 2-minute audio file allegedly recorded moments before the shooting. Static, muffled voices. Then a clear, tense whisper. He's moving toward the mic. Tell her it's time. That one word detonated across the internet. Comment sections exploded with the same question. Her who? Some said it was a security guard. Others claimed it was a reference to Charlie's wife who, according to eyewitnesses, had called him 3 times in the hour before the event, then vanished from public sight immediately after the attack. The clip was dissected frame by frame, pitch shifted, slowed, reversed. Voice analysis hobbyists swore the female voice in the background matched a previous Turning Point livestream where Kirk's wife had briefly appeared. The similarity was eerie enough to go viral. Mainstream outlets dismissed it as a UH-generated disinformation, but that only made people dig harder. Because when officials start shouting fake, the internet starts shouting truth. Candace Owens enters the storm and then boom. Candace Owens dropped her own grenade during a late-night livestream viewed by more than 8 million people. She said she had exclusive proof that Tyler Robinson had been framed. Her source: a friend of Robinson's family, who claimed the 22-year-old was lured into Utah under false pretenses, invited to a political internship interview that never existed. Candace leaned toward the camera, eyes burning. This kid was baited. Someone wanted him there that day. Someone needed a fall guy. The chat went nuclear. Messages flew, name names. Is she talking about the widow? This is bigger than politics. Owens didn't say the widow's name. She didn't have to. Her next line said it all. Follow the money inside. Turning point, you'll see who really benefited from Charlie's death. That sentence was clipped, looped, and reposted millions of times. Within hours, the phrase "who benefited" was trending at #1 worldwide. The money trail internet sleuths started tracing public donation records, nonprofit filings, and executive salary disclosures. And what they found sent chills down everyone's spine just 3 days after the shooting. Turning Point USA's headquarters received a transfer of $12.4 million from an anonymous donor entity registered in the Cayman Islands. The signature on the receipt, none other than the widow herself, officially. It was labeled a crisis stabilization grant. Unofficially, it looked like hush money. Screenshots of the document hit Reddit, and within minutes, the post vanished, deleted by moderators for unverified content. But by then, it was too late. The image had been screenshotted thousands of times. Even more disturbing, several former staffers began leaking old emails where Kirk had questioned the company's offshore accounts. In one, he wrote, "If we don't come clean, someone else will expose us and it'll destroy everything." That email was dated 9 days before his death. Joe Rogan doubles down. Joe Rogan doubles down after that. He brought Candace on his show. The episode was titled "The Widow's Web." The moment it dropped, YouTube servers nearly crashed from the traffic. Candace came prepared with notes, with printouts, with fury. She claimed Charlie's widow had been in negotiations with a major media investor for weeks prior to the shooting. That investor allegedly wanted control of Turning Point's political media wing. A deal Charlie refused. Rogan leaned back, his expression a mix of disbelief and dread. "So you're saying he was about to blow the whistle on financial corruption, and then he dies days before, and she takes over the company?" Candace nodded. "Exactly. And the deal went through after his funeral." Silence. Then Rogan muttered the words that would headline every outlet the next morning. "That's not coincidence. That's orchestration." The first twist just when it seemed the outrage couldn't get bigger. A new leak surfaced, this time from inside law enforcement. A blog called The Underground Ledger published. What it claimed was a segment of the sealed police dispatch log from the night of the shooting. One line in particular changed everything. Second, suspect female escorted from premises. 1947. Cleared by federal agents. A female suspect. Escorted out. Cleared by federal agents, the timestamp matched the exact minute the campus went into lockdown. Yet this entry had never appeared in the official report. The Ledger's post was deleted within hours. The author's account was suspended. But by then, screenshots had gone viral under the hashtag #SecondSuspect. Internet detectives compared the timestamps with security footage, showing a woman in a dark coat leaving through a side door as alarms blared. Her face was hidden, but her gait, her build, her hairstyle looked hauntingly familiar. By midnight, experts were overlaying her outline with old footage of Charlie Kirk's wife from public appearances. The match, 87%, according to amateur AI analysts. Cue pandemonium. Commenters lost their minds. Is this real life? If that's her, she's finished. Why would the feds clear her unless she was one of them? For the first time, mainstream outlets couldn't ignore it. Cable panels debated whether the footage was authentic. Law enforcement issued a vague statement denying online misinformation, but the denial sounded rehearsed, sterile, almost terrified. Rogan's response. He uploaded a 1-minute clip to Instagram. If there was a second suspect, the public deserves to know. Period. That clip alone racked up 58 million views in a day. The domino effect after the dispatch leak, everything unraveled. Former Turning Point employees came forward anonymously. One claimed to have seen the widow in a closed-door meeting with two men in suits just hours before the Utah eventmen who were not part of the organization. Another said she received a massive life insurance payout far exceeding the policy amount, funded through supplemental coverage approved 2 weeks before the shooting. Even more chilling, the life insurance company itself, ALLEGEDLY, flagged the payout for review, then suddenly retracted the audit without explanation. Online investigators tied that insurer to the same Cayman entity that made the $12 million transfer. The pattern was impossible to ignore. Public panic, every platform turned into a battlefield. TikTok feeds filled with clips captioned "She knew." Twitter threads compared this case to the deaths of other political figures who'd known too much. YouTube thumbnails screamed Rogan was RIGHT. Supporters of Charlie Kirk demanded the Department of Justice reopen the case. Others accused Rogan and Owens of fueling mass hysteria. But the more people tried to silence the conversation, the louder it got. Protests erupted outside Turning Point's headquarters. Candles, posters, chants of justice for Charlie. One protester held a sign that read, "He wanted transparency. He got bullets." Inside the building, employees reportedly received gag orders forbidding any comment on ongoing internal matters. The widow stopped making public appearances altogether, her last sighting. Security footage of her entering a private jet hangar at midnight. Destination unknown. The shocking twist just when the chaos seemed to peak. A new leak dropped and it changed the narrative completely. A USB drive mailed anonymously to an independent journalist contained emails allegedly between the widow and an unnamed intelligence consultant. One email, dated 2 days before the shooting, read, "The situation has escalated. Charlie is becoming erratic. If he goes public, everything we've built collapses. Handle it before he does something irreversible." Another, sent the night after his death, contained the narrative, "I'll take leadership effective immediately. The assets will follow." The journalist published screenshots claiming metadata verified their authenticity. Within an hour, the post was deleted. His website crashed. Then, his social media accounts were wiped clean by morning. Rumors spread that his apartment had been raided, and just like that, the man who tried to expose the truth vanished. Cliffhanger ending of Part 3. Now the internet's screaming for answers, but the authorities remain silent. The widow unreachable, and the documents sealed tighter than ever. Joe Rogan's final words on that week's episode echo like a warning. If this is what they do to a guy like Charlie Kirk, imagine what happens to the rest of us who start asking questions. Rest the discovery, live on air. You're telling me the CEO's assistant was funneling millions into a ghost company? And nobody inside Turning Point noticed. That's insane. Candace nodded, visibly shaken. It's not just insane, Joe. It's intentional. Charlie found out, and they knew he was going to expose it. The Black Door recording, just when the chaos started to fade. Another leak detonated online, a voicemail, allegedly from Charlie Kirk himself. Sent 2 days before his death. His voice was shaky. Rushed, "If anything happens to me, look at the board members. The audit, it's not about the money. It's about control. There's something inside Turning Point they don't want out." Then a pause, a heavy exhale. "And if you get this, tell Candace she was right." That last line, "Tell Candace she was right," spread across the internet like wildfire. People froze. Was this real? Was Charlie Kirk predicting his own death? Mainstream outlets scrambled to debunk it. They claimed the audio was doctored. But a group of independent forensic analysts came forward saying the voice pattern perfectly matched Charlie's verified interviews. Joe Rogan called it the most haunting thing I've ever heard. Candace Owens broke down crying on a live stream. He tried to warn us, she whispered. He knew. The comment section flooded with heartbreak and rage. Justice for Charlie. The system killed him. They're covering it up. And as the world demanded answers, the one person who could have cleared everything, his widow, remained completely silent. The widow's vanishing act in the 14th day after the shooting. Paparazzi footage surfaced grainy, dark, almost cinematic. It showed Charlie's widow entering a private jet terminal in Scottsdale, flanked by two unidentified men in suits. One of them was holding a black briefcase. She didn't speak to reporters. She didn't look back. She simply boarded the jet and disappeared into the night. Her destination: Dubai. Why Dubai? That question became the center of a new wave of speculation. According to anonymous insiders, Turning Point had long-standing offshore connections there, hidden investment accounts, shell entities, and even private security firms. The widow's sudden escape to the same region raised every possible red flag. Rogan summed it up best: if you're innocent, you don't flee to a country with no extradition treaty. The clip went viral instantly. The industry reacts. That's when Hollywood and political celebrities started to speak out. Elon Musk tweeted, "If even half this is true, it's the biggest political cover-up of the decade." Tucker Carlson posted, "They silenced Charlie because he was about to name names." This isn't conspiracy, it's reality. Even liberal commentators chimed in, some mocking, some cautious. But the real explosion came from a leaked group chat between high-profile conservative influencers. Screenshots showed panic. "She's making us all look guilty. Delete old emails now. They're going to reopen the case." That leak sent the internet into full meltdown because it confirmed what everyone already suspected. The people inside the movement were scared. The shocking reveal, and then the unthinkable happened. A hacker collective known as CypherRogue released what they called the Widow Files. The drop contained encrypted emails, photos, and financial ledgers allegedly stolen from the widow's private cloud. One folder stood out: Operation Silencer. Inside were 5 documents marked confidential, and one image that stopped hearts cold. It was a blurry surveillance photo from inside the Utah Valley University auditorium, time-stamped minutes before the shooting. It showed 2 people standing near a service entrance. One was unmistakably Tyler Robinson. The other? A woman in a dark blazer, head down, holding a phone, and her silhouette was identical to Charlie's widow. Even worse, the image metadata listed a different timestamp than the official event record, 10 minutes earlier than when authorities claimed Robinson entered the building. If the photo was real, it meant the widow was there before the attack even happened. That single revelation detonated like a nuclear bomb. Chaos across platforms. YouTube thumbnails screamed she was there. Twitter threads exploded with frame-by-frame analysis. TikTok sleuths posted voice overlays, comparing the mysterious woman's walk to archived footage of the widow. Every hour brought new proof, enhanced images, leaked texts, supposed airport manifests. Some fake, some real. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. Even mainstream news anchors began whispering what they'd avoided for weeks. Is it possible the widow knew more than she's revealed? Candace Owens went live again, furious, shaking, nearly shouting, "I warned everyone. They called me crazy. But this proves everything." Charlie's death wasn't random. It was engineered. Joe Rogan's follow-up episode broke every record on Spotify. He opened the show with a chilling statement: If the widow was on site before the shooting, this entire case is a lie. The question isn't what happened anymore, it's who planned it. The psychological warfare then came something even stranger. Anonymous insiders claimed Turning Point's internal communications had been scrubbed, emails wiped, servers reformatted, even backup drives physically destroyed. When asked why, the organization issued a cryptic response: "We are undergoing an internal restructuring." That phrasing, internal restructuring, became a meme overnight, symbolizing corruption and guilt. But hidden beneath the memes was something darker. Whistleblowers revealed that multiple journalists investigating the Kirk case had received anonymous threats, phone calls, untraceable emails, even real letters warning them to stop digging. One reporter, who refused to back down, posted a cryptic message to X: "They came to my house last night. If anything happens to me, check the Turning Point servers." Hours later, his account vanished, the public meltdown by the third week. The public was emotionally exhausted but addicted. People weren't just watching the story anymore. They were living it. Every new leak, every deleted tweet, every vanishing reporter fed the frenzy. Fans held vigils for Charlie. Others protested outside police headquarters, demanding the unsealing of the case files. Even Congress members started calling for hearings into potential political interference in ongoing investigations. And through it all, the widow stayed silent. No interviews, no statements, no explanations. Just a single post on her Instagram, a black screen with the words, "You don't know the full story." The comments exploded. "Then tell us, what are you hiding? Where were you that night?" Within an hour, she deleted her account entirely. The cliffhanger then, just when the outrage reached its boiling point. Something unbelievable happened. A news station in Arizona broke a developing story live on air. A federal warrant had just been issued for an unnamed individual connected to the Kirk investigation. The anchor's voice trembled as she read the final line of the breaking alert. Sources close to the Justice Department confirm that the individual in question has fled the country and may be residing in Dubai. The camera zoomed in on her face as she said it, in Dubai. The audience didn't need a name. Everyone already knew who she meant, and before the network could even finish the segment, their feed cut to black. Seconds later, their YouTube channel was taken offline for technical maintenance. Twitter erupted. They're shutting it down. The widow's been named. This is bigger than anyone thought. For a few hours, the internet plunged into total silence, as if someone had yanked the plug on the world's information flow. Then, around 3 a.m., a single encrypted post appeared on a dark web forum tied to Cypher Rogue. It read, "She's not running. She's meeting them." And just like that, the story went from a hunt for the truth to a race against time. Because now, the question wasn't just whether Charlie Kirk's widow was involved. It was what she's planning next. The world wasn't just watching anymore. It was dividing. The story of Charlie Kirk's death had become a cultural fault line, and everyone, from politicians to pop stars, was picking a side. The internet erupts when Cypherogue's widow files dropped. The web exploded. Within minutes, hashtags like #SheKnew, #JusticeForCharlie, and #Rogan was right dominated every platform. X, formerly Twitter, servers slowed to a crawl as millions of users retweeted the leaked photo allegedly showing the widow at the scene. Comment sections turned into war zones. If this is real, we're looking at the biggest political betrayal of our time. She's innocent. They're using deepfakes to frame her. Joe Rogan warned us. We just didn't listen. Within hours, Reddit mods locked threads, TikTok shadow banned clips, and Facebook flagged posts as sensitive material. But the more they tried to bury it, the more viral it became. Memes appeared faster than fact checks. One showed the widow smiling at a fundraiser captioned "Smile if you planned it." Another featured Joe Rogan wearing a detective hat with the caption, "Trust no one." It wasn't just gossip anymore. It was movement to nations. Two realities. On one side were the believers, truthers, as they called themselves. They followed Rogan, Owens, and Cypher Rogue like prophets. They built Discord servers and Telegram channels, running 24-hour investigations. Digital detectives analyzed every frame of video, every pixel of photo, every pause in every interview. On the other side stood the defenders, who called the entire scandal a politically motivated witch hunt. They said Rogan was exploiting a tragedy for views, that Candace was chasing clout, that the leaks were AI forgeries designed to divide the right. News networks split along predictable lines. Conservative anchors spoke of government corruption and betrayal. Liberal ones called it manufactured madness spun by podcast echo chambers. Even late-night comedy shows joined the frenzy. One comedian joked, "When Joe Rogan becomes your most trusted news source, you know civilization has ended." But no one was laughing anymore. Every debate, every comment section, every family dinner turned into a battlefield. Celebrities take sides. Hollywood couldn't resist the chaos. Kanye West posted a cryptic image of a chessboard with the caption, "The Queen sacrificed the King." The post was deleted in 10 minutes. But not before racking up 3 million likes. Elon Musk tweeted a poll. Who do you believe, Joe Rogan or the mainstream media? Over 5 million votes. Rogan won by 72%. Meanwhile, Taylor Swift broke her silence with a tweet that read, "Grief is real. Conspiracies are not healing." That comment alone sparked a 48-hour hashtag war between Swifties and Rogan fans. Even brands jumped in. One energy drink company tweeted, "Stay awake for the truth," then released a special edition can featuring a silhouette resembling Rogan. It sold out in a day. Turning Point's meltdown. While the world argued, Turning Point USA was imploding. Anonymous employees began posting on Glassdoor-like forums, claiming they were threatened with termination for talking to press. Internal memos leaked to reporters showed panic inside the organization. One email, allegedly from the interim coup, read, "All documents relating to the audit must be secured. No communication with external media under any circumstances." The message was signed with the same initials as the man Charlie had appointed to lead the audit days before his death. Meanwhile, the organization's YouTube channel disabled comments. Its official Instagram account went dark, and rumors circulated that several high-level executives had fled the country. Rogan's followers pounced. If they weren't guilty, why go silent? They're cleaning house before the feds show up. Candace Owens posted a photo of herself in front of Turning Point's shuttered offices with the caption, "Empty buildings, empty truths." Mainstream media Whiplash Sinan aired a special report titled "Conspiracy Culture: How Misinformation Killed the Truth." Fox News countered with the questions they don't want you to ask. Both programs aired on the same night, and ratings for both hit historic highs. Experts were brought on to debate whether the leaked files were real or deepfakes. One former CIA operative said, "The precision of these documents suggests someone on the inside wanted them found." Another countered, "Or someone on the outside wanted chaos." By the end of the broadcast, viewers were more confused than ever, but the ratings were gold. Networks had turned a tragedy into primetime entertainment. And in the background, Joe Rogan kept feeding the fire with one line after another. "If you're angry, good. That means you still care." Fan civil war in the online arena. The fan wars were ruthless. Rogan supporters built a digital archive called the Kirk files, an open-source database of every leak and clip. They called themselves the Hunters. Defenders of the widow launched a counter-movement called Project Mercy, arguing that the smear campaign was being funded by Kirk's enemies in Washington. Both groups hacked each other's sites, doxed leaders, and turned real streets into virtual front lines. FBI cybercrime units issued warnings as anonymous threats spiked. Still, nothing could slow the momentum. Every new leak was treated as scripture. Every debunking was called propaganda. Celebrities dragged into the crossfire within a week. Dozens of major figures were forced to comment. Ben Shapiro tweeted, "I love Joe. But this is getting dangerous." Megan Fox posted an Instagram story that simply said, "Energy never lies." Even former President Trump, reportedly, called the case disturbing and worth looking into. The FBI released a statement dismissing rampant misinformation, fueled by online personalities. But the tone was defensive, not decisive, and that made people even angrier. One viral comment summed it up: "If the FBI says it's fake, it's definitely real." The widow speaks sort of then, out of nowhere. A 30-second video appeared on her verified account posted from Dubai. She looked calm, almost cold. Her eyes were swollen, but her voice was steady. "I've seen what they're saying. I won't feed their lies. When the time is right, you'll hear the truth from me." Then, cut to black. That was it. No proof, no context, no apology. The clip amassed 50 million views in an hour. Half the comments called it a confession. The other half called it a warning. Joe Rogan responded with 4 words that sent the internet into meltdown. She just confirmed it. The industry reckoned streaming platforms started scrambling to control the damage. Spotify temporarily restricted Rogan's episode from search results pending review. YouTube demonetized every video containing the words "Charlie Kirk widow." Journalists cried censorship. Rogan's fans cried proof of a cover-up. Meanwhile, a Netflix producer announced a docuseries titled The Rogan Effect: Truth or Terror. It wasn't even filmed yet, and it already had a release date. Hollywood was turning the real-time chaos into content. Experts and psychologists called it a collective meltdown. Media professors dubbed it the first post-truth tragedy of the digital age. But others saw something far more sinister: a pattern. A data analyst named Dr. Eli Harper published a report showing that hundreds of the accounts fueling the controversy were bots linked to foreign IP addresses. Someone is amplifying this story on purpose, he warned. This is information warfare that should have calmed people down. Instead, it made them even more terrified. Because if the chaos was being amplified by foreign powers, then maybe the truth was bigger than anyone imagined. The public turns on itself by the 4th week. Families were splitting over it. Friendships ended. Podcasts imploded. Entire communities fractured, and as tension rose, so did the mystery. Cypherog promised a final drop, something they called Project Omega. They claimed it would end the lie forever. The countdown was set for Friday midnight, but Thursday night, every Cypherog channel went offline simultaneously. Rogan posted an hour later. They just silenced the only people with proof. The comment section erupted in fear and rage. Who took them down? Did they get to Rogan next? By morning, the group's main site redirected to a 404 page that read, "Truth is a dangerous thing." The unraveling at this point, there was no going back. Politicians were calling for hearings. Platforms were locking down. Public opinion was teetering between revolution and madness. The Kirk case wasn't just a story anymore. It was a symbol. A mirror reflecting a society that no longer knew who to trust. Rogan summed it up on his show's closing monologue that week: "They've turned the truth into a crime, and the people who ask questions into suspects." The camera zoomed in. His voice lowered. But what they don't understand is that once the questions start, they never stop. And somewhere, half a world away in Dubai, Charlie Kirk's widow opened her laptop, watched the clip, and smiled. No one knows why, but that smile would soon become the center of the final. Most unthinkable twist yet. The world thought it had reached the end of the story, but it hadn't. Not even close. Because in the shadows of the chaos, something new was about to surface, something that would twist everything you thought you knew into a nightmare of doubt. Deception and impossible truth. The deleted backup set 2:17 a.m. 3 weeks after Sephiroth vanished, a Reddit user posted a single, cryptic sentence, "They forgot the backup drive." Within an hour, a 12-gigabyte file called omega_remnant.zip began circulating through encrypted torrent links. Inside were fragments of audio logs, blurred photos, and a folder titled Witness A. And what that folder contained broke the internet in half. It wasn't another theory. It wasn't another leak. It was a confession. The audio that changed everything. The file opened with the sound of heavy breathing, a man's trembling voice, and faint static interference. They told me to keep quiet, that it wasn't an accident, that the orders came from inside. The voice was weak, panicked, and unmistakably male. Then came the shocker. She didn't plan it. She stopped it. But someone else, someone close to him, made sure it happened anyway. For the first time, the narrative cracked open in the opposite direction. Could the widow have been protecting Charlie all along? Another clip followed, a female voice, this time terrified, whispering, "I told him not to go. I told him they were coming." But he didn't listen. Analysts compared the audio to archived interviews of the widow, and the voice print matched 99.8%. That meant the woman, everyone accused of conspiracy, might have been trying to save him. Rogan's reaction: the world froze as Rogan reacted in real time. He sat silent for a full 10 seconds before whispering, "If that's her voice, we've been wrong." Candace Owens refused to believe it. She said the timing was too perfect, the confession too cinematic. But even she admitted the voice was hauntingly real. Rogan then said something no one expected from him. What if the real killer isn't the widow, but the one who framed her? That single line turned the internet on its head. The secret partner then came a discovery buried deep in the Omega files. An email chain between two mysterious aliases, D, Stray, and N, Dove, the email subject. Containment, Phase 2. It read, "The audit was never the threat. Charlie was. The widow's loyalty is irrelevant. Execute before the files reach Rogan." The last line made blood run cold. She's the perfect distraction. The signature D. Stray matched the initials of Justin Stray, the same man Charlie Kirk had named as the new coup in his final memo, the man no one had seen since the day after the shooting. The pieces suddenly clicked. The money trail, the sealed documents, the insider silence, all of it pointed to one horrifying conclusion. Charlie hadn't been silenced by outsiders. He'd been betrayed from within. The world reacts as soon as the Stray connection surfaced. The backlash was nuclear. News networks reopened the story. Podcasts dissected every second of the leak. Twitter flooded with new hashtags. Hashtag find Stray and hashtag she tried to save him, the widow, once the internet's villain, became its newest mystery heroine. Joe Rogan released a 10-minute emergency episode, pacing back and forth as he spoke. If Stray's behind this, if the widow's been in hiding because she's scared, then we owe her an apology. The entire internet just tore down an innocent woman. His tone shifted from fury to guilt. We've been chasing the wrong monster. Candace Owens, however, wasn't convinced. She warned, don't fall for the rewrite. This could be another setup to clear her name and bury the truth for good. Her words reignited the war. One half of the internet hailed the widow as a misunderstood protector. The other half still swore she was a mastermind covering her tracks. The vanishing point, and then she disappeared again, 3 days after the new leak. Dubai surveillance footage showed her walking into a luxury high-rise and never walking out. Security cameras inside. The building mysteriously went offline that same evening. Her hotel suite abandoned. Passport left behind. The only clue, a handwritten note on the bedside table. It said only 5 words. He wasn't supposed to die. That photo hit the internet like a shockwave. Was it guilt, a confession, or a warning? The cliffhanger, the final twist, came not from Rogan, not from Candace, not from the FBI, but from an anonymous message posted to Rogan's own subreddit by a brand new account named witnessa_resurface. The post read, "You've all been chasing the wrong lead." The shooter wasn't the target. The target was the man behind the audit, and he's still alive. Attached was a single blurry image, a man's silhouette, sitting on a hospital bed, bandaged, hooked to IV's face, turned away. The timestamp, 2 days ago. The location metadata. Dubai, if it was real, that meant Charlie Kirk, the man the world mourned, might still be alive. Within minutes, every platform was flooded with one question: did they fake his death? Rogan ended his next show in complete silence, staring into the camera before whispering, "If he's alive." Then the real story hasn't even started yet. The screen faded to black, and 4 words appeared in blood-red text: "To be continued soon." So now you've heard everything. Or have you? Charlie Kirk's death, the cover-up, the money trail, the widow's disappearance, the mysterious stray connection, and now that blurry photo claiming he might still be alive. It's become the most twisted story of the decade. But one question remains: what do you believe? Was Joe Rogan a hero for speaking out, or a pawn used to spread chaos? Was Candace Owens a truth teller, or a trigger pulled by someone bigger? And most importantly, was the widow a villain, or the only person who tried to save him? Drop your thoughts below right now. I read every single comment. And trust me, this community is where the real investigation happens. If you think the story ends here, you're wrong. Rumors are already spreading about Project Omega 2.0, a new data leak that could prove everything we've heard was just the setup for something even bigger. We're talking hidden accounts, deleted surveillance footage, and a name no one expected to surface again. So here's what you need to do right now. Hit like if you believe this story still has layers we haven't seen. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because when the next drop hits, I'll be the first to break it down for you live. Comment your theory: was Charlie Kirk betrayed by his own organization, or did he stage his death to expose them from the shadows? The world is split. Half believes he's gone. Half believes he's in hiding. And a few believe he's already making his next move. Whatever the truth is, one thing is certain: this story is far from over. So buckle up. Stay alert, and remember, in a world where truth is for sale, the real enemy is silence. This is just the beginning. The next revelation drops soon. You won't want to miss it.